Good evening and a very warm welcome to First Issues. The Motswana of today has a very different lifestyle from one just a few decades ago. Traditional life involved working in the fields and herding cattle for sustenance, constructing and manning donkey carts for transport, walking long distances to access goods and services, building and maintaining your own home from the ground up. Every aspect of life required physical exertion. Even getting a sweet but healthy snack in the form of moretwa, moretologa or motsotsojane needed you to walk and forage in the bush. Modernization and rapid urbanization, however, means that the majority of Botswana no longer live off the land, but now subsist on the processed foods high in sugar, salt and fat that are indicative of this age. Physical exercise for those that prioritize it now involves getting behind the wheel of a car and paying an establishment for the use of their exercise equipment. And increasing numbers of people pay gardeners and housekeepers to do what physical work there does need to be done around the home. These changes that many consider to be indicators of wealth and success, however, are actually deteriorating the nation's health. Eating more Western diets of pastas, cereals, and different types of fast food is even considered somewhat of a status symbol by a nation that has gradually put away its diet of meroho, musutlane, madila, lebelebele, and others as times changed. Go shaba ka morogo is considered to be a bad thing or even an insult, although it is actually the healthy option. The whole world is learning, however, that there is a high cost to pay for this modern lifestyle. Illnesses have accompanied lives that are now characterized by long hours sat at a desk instead of working in the fields, and eating foods that have been highly processed to have long shelf lives and addictive additives. Non-communicable diseases such as type 2 diabetes, the type of diabetes one is not born with but can develop through lifestyle, which will be our focus this evening, threaten to undermine the economic gains this country and others have made by severely compromising the quality of our workforce and increasing the healthcare burden. When we consider that the Motswana of today is introduced to sugar at infancy through processed baby foods and drinks, then packed lunches of refined flour bread, processed potato chips, and sugar-laden drinks as toddlers and preteens, we can start to understand why Botswana in particular has a higher prevalence of diabetes than the continental average of Africa. The health costs are gargantuan, yet we appear to be oblivious to this growing threat. To drive the point home, we have with us this evening guests whose lifestyles reflect many of our own, to speak to us about the consequences of our actions, as it appears that the advice of healthcare professionals consistently goes over our heads. Raphael Khabung is a former public servant who loved to eat fried chips, magwinya, Russians and the like during his breaks from his sedentary lifestyle sat behind the desk. On weekends, his idea of fun was overindulging in alcohol as well. By the age of 24, he was diagnosed as being diabetic, 3 years after he had been struggling to manage his high blood pressure.
Mina will Why, botshelo ne se pe a neela motho a bua le wena ka botshelo ba gago. O bo sa bone gore a gona le mathata ka ne sampe re le basimanyana. Ne ha re taba re no majalo re yo a re thola re pesitse dinama mo reno.
He is now a 60-year-old grandfather who has had 2 heart surgeries, takes daily insulin injections, and has developed stage 4 chronic kidney disease.
Maloba ke go teana diphilo tsa medi le tsone di affecting. Ke tsa di affecting ga tisukiri. Ke mo stage 4. Stage 4 kana so se stage le so 1 then so mala sengwe bo se hela kana. It's a monster killing us every day. Me ga re tshoge. It's like ha ne re le ko bitshile ruarua le taleheta le tsa ngwanomo. Re nna hela. We don't stand up and run. Re nna hela. Ga re itso right.
We are also joined by Subalakshmi Sambasivan, known as Masam, who has been living in Botswana since 1979. Even as an educated economist, she says she did not know enough about proteins, vitamins and the like, and had a real love for Indian sweets. Like many of us, she says she did not have time to take care of herself while caring for 3 children and managing a store, and now has had surgeries on her heart, and her kidney and leg are giving out, having been diagnosed with diabetes at the prime age of 43. Now, as she turns 70 in June, she shares with us her greatest fear.
I am dreading the fact, just like I was dreading the fact I'm going to get diabetes, and the same way cardiac arrest, because I have got cardiac problem. This dialysis and kidney damage also is really a big threat. Not even my bone, the problems with my bones like osteoporosis, osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis do not bother me, but dialysis and kidney damage does bother me.
Also joining us is another mother of 3, Florence Manwedi, who was surprised to be diagnosed with diabetes almost 10 years ago, as she had assumed that it was an illness that affects people her mother's age. She, like the others, initially had high blood pressure, illustrating the connectedness between these lifestyle-threatening illnesses. Although slim, she felt the pressure of growing up in a society that prefers women to have curvier, fuller figures. She found her work in teaching and management at the Botswana Institute of Administration and Commerce suffering at some point due to the lethargy, dizziness and disorientation that were symptoms of an illness she did not know she had.
I used to sit and ask myself, early in the morning, why am I tired? And I want to work. And I want to run a meeting, conduct a meeting. And normally, before I was sick, I would conduct a meeting. When I say it's 1 hour, it's 1 hour. And I was able to prevent other people prolonging the process unnecessarily. So that now went off. It's just like when I'm tired and the people say, why can't we have it tomorrow? I'm more inclined to postpone. Not because I want to postpone, but because my body is not helping me.
Ke ne ke bona ke rata go nwa metsi thata. Ke rata go ntsha metsi thata. Ke nwa metsi mo go heteletseng. Ga ke wa something is wrong.
What is the future of help? It's to help people find the great in themselves. The drive, the passion. Help them find their true potential. Help them stretch. Help them grow. That's why we help people help themselves, help the world, because a little help goes a long, long way. FNB. How can we help you?
Welcome back to First Issues as we continue to hear stories from former working professionals who had their lives interrupted by the growing scourge that is type 2 diabetes. Ma Sambasivan says, like our other guests shared before the break, she also did not fully appreciate the severity of her illness when she was first diagnosed.
For me, some of the years went by without knowing the seriousness of the diabetes. Also, I was very busy with 3 very naughty, demanding children and a husband. During 1984, I became a businesswoman, a trader practically, and that kept me about 21 hours awake and 3 hours sleeping. So I had no time to take care of myself. So by the time 11 years passed, and then I knew that how serious diabetes has got to me. I also have heart problem, serious cardiac problems, and hypertension, and osteoporosis, osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, everything. By 1995, everything was diagnosed as it's a very serious condition I have.
Me ba ra ke sa tlhokomele go tla dira gore bo dipelo di ka se ka tsa thodi di kgona ha di sa kgone ano go ra re ka go dira na dialysis le gore maybe ke a go dira 3 times a week. Ha ke dira 3 times a week kana ga ke mo se ke go tsana go ka go spatela gape le yone kana it's a cost even to the government, very high cost even to the government, and to me because opportunity cost ya gore ke gore dilo tse dintsi dintsi ga ke na go di dira. Ko re malwetse a o itse gore a closer sengwe le sengwe. O nna destitute. O lwala bone bolwetse bo nang wa lapile bo nang go tlo se ka tsamaya ga kala o nnehela ha tono dipitso to ikenta kana kwa gore ha go tswa dipitso wa lebala yone meketene wa lebala ya gore re kgaka ga gare ga mpala se bo gore o boewe go tsa diotsi gore sengwe your plans so tano di a tobekana ga se tsone you don't implement them properly ke drawback.
Rekhabung says along with the high physical toll diabetes has on the body, there are other costs associated with this illness.
Go ha mekana house na di shele nyana mo bo sukiri nyana ga okay kwa khona because it's expensive. Dio tsa teng medication wa teng dio tsa teng for instance na ntse ke ara yo ke bagay the pills tsa teng ke dira over 2,000 every month. Le yone medical aid wa mo sa khone no hela ka bo October. Ha ke tama go yana gape ke ta go dira di check up wa a go ntse motšhini na bata 4,000, you could just imagine. A mangwe malwetse a go ta yone sukiri e tsere madi e tsere di resources tse tsote ga ya no he.
Of our 3 guests, Memanwedi is the only one who has not developed significant complications as a result of type 2 diabetes. What does a life living and successfully managing this illness involve exactly?
I have to prepare in the morning all the meals of the day. It's no longer the 3 meals, it's the 3 meals plus the snacks. One thing that I realized I shouldn't do, I shouldn't let myself go hungry. Because when I go hungry, the energy goes and I may not have enough energy to prepare myself food. So it must always be ready that even if I'm traveling, I need to surround myself with all that I may need depending on the level of my sugar.
What is the future of help? It's to help people find the great in themselves. The drive, the passion. Help them find their true potential. Help them stretch. Help them grow. That's why we help people help themselves, help the world. Because a little help goes a long, long way. FNB, how can we help you?
It is time for Business Basics. Despite their increasingly valuable role within the economy, SMEs remain significantly high risk. Therefore, it is increasingly important to have a good plan, one that shows the viability and sustainability of your business idea to secure that all-important financing. A good strategy is based on a solid understanding of your market and your competition. And we've also been taught in recent weeks that truly assessing your customers' values, as opposed to assuming you know their wants, is key to having a competitive strategy. As a follow-on, tonight we are taught some common approaches to help you strengthen your competitive advantage.
There are two types of strategies that people can actually choose from. They're both generic. One is a low-cost strategy, where you decide to charge people less and target for volumes. There is a second generic strategy called the differentiation strategy, where you want to distinct yourself. You make your product very differentiated, very different, and where customers are willing to pay a premium price for it. So you might not be pushing volumes, but the few customers that you have will actually be willing to pay you more than the average. So more like you create a niche market whereby you know your exclusive customers who are willing to pay the price as long as you provide them with that differentiated product. So both strategies can yield very good results. It just depends in terms of where your position is in terms of all those factors that we've looked at. So now as a business, you need to assess those factors, how you stack up against all those factors, and really say, how do we then distribute our limited resources? And in this instance, we are talking to the technology that you have, you are talking to the people, your employees, you are talking to the buildings, if it all involves building. How do we then distribute these resources to make sure that we improve our competitive advantage? And obviously, when you do this, there are various decisions that you need to make. You can strengthen your position across all the mix that you have in. Once you've made those decisions in terms of whether you go with the low-cost strategy or differentiated strategy, let me give an example that in the differentiated strategy, there are a few companies in Botswana in the concrete mixed products who product these specialized capstones, your specialized culverts, and so you need big machinery there. You need some specialized people there to actually run those productions, and there are about 2 companies there, but the capital investment is quite huge. So if you have a few millions, you might want to improve the technology, you might want to add more products which is not readily available, and widen the gap between you and the next guy that is trying to catch up with you. That's a decision. But you might want to say, okay, we do have another line that's not doing well, but we're highly competitive. I'll give an example. Say, we are doing these stock bricks on the other side, and stock bricks is very cheap. Anyone can buy a stock brick machine, but we feel we still want to increase our capacity that side. So it's for you to choose. Now, once these two are put in place, now you need to really define how do they really improve our competitive positioning. So we're strengthening this area where we're already strong, or in the next 5 years, we expect to have narrowed the gap between us and the guy who's been leading us. So we're going to make investment in this area, which has a bigger market, which has got a better growth prospect, but we are ranking number 5 as we speak. So if we can make this huge investment, we can narrow the gap and make sure that we increase our market share. So it's important that at the end of the day, after doing all the information, after assessing all the information that we've shared, now you come to this conclusion. This strategy will now come and inform the next chapters, like what sort of skills do you need? Because if we are going to increase production, should I go and hire 3 more engineers? If we are going to expand our operation and open more 4 stores in other regions, should I go and look for another manager who will serve the northern region because the current one is serving the South and we don't want to neglect the South? Will we hire another HR manager who looks in the North, or will it be a shared resource? So the strategy now in terms of what we're going to do will inform your next human resources in terms of how are we going to, what additional resources will we need. So, but we will definitely, with the resource issues, it's a subject on its own that needs to be addressed quite adequately. So the strategy, I would say, without necessarily complicating matters, that's how simple it should be. Otherwise, if you want to go in details, one can actually go in details, but the warning is don't present more than enough, because sometimes, like I'm saying, if the document is too thick, no one is have the time to go through those thick documents. Compress it, make it as short as brief, but consistent and very precise.
Tonight, in this segment meant to help us better understand the stock market, we are shown how the exchange is a marketplace in which companies can not only access investment opportunities, but also raise capital.
Whenever there is a platform where participants can meet one another, and in that platform there's an unlimited number of participants, in that platform the prices of goods and services are driven by demand and supply. That constitutes a marketplace. So when you say the BSE is a marketplace, you are basically speaking to the mandate of the BSE, which is to provide a platform where issuers of securities, these being government or corporates, issue these securities, this could be shares or bonds, to the public to raise money from the public and for the public to invest the money into these investment products, shares or bonds. Ordinarily, there are two markets that we can speak about, the primary market and the secondary market. When companies or government issue securities for the first time to the public to raise capital, this is called the primary market. And when these securities are now being traded among those that hold the securities or with those that have interest in these securities, this is called the secondary market. So it is for these reasons that we talk about the initial public offering or the IPO when we speak about the primary market, and then continuous trading of shares, bonds, and whatever instruments when we talk about the secondary market. So that in its own explains what the marketplace is and explains what the BSE as a marketplace is: a platform for issuing securities to raise capital and for the public to invest in the securities.